Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about something that's in the news, and it is Taylor Swift and her boyfriend, which is Travis Kelce. And I wanted to look at their charts to see how compatible they are, what's their future, and even when they've met, how the stars have predicted their meeting and what will come of this. So let's put up both the charts of Taylor Swift. Let me move over here so we can see them. And Travis Kelce. And let's see what we can see. Now, we have Taylor Swift's birth time, but we do not have Travis Kelce's birth time. So whenever this is the case, I look at the chart from what we call in Vedic astrology, Chandra Lagna, which means making the moon the ascendant. In Vedic astrology, we look at the moon as the most important planet, not the sun like Western astrology, because truly, the moon will reflect your entire cycles of when things happen in your life. This is all based on where your moon is in accordance to your dashas. Now, a lot of that, what I just said, may not make much sense to all of you, but that is the technical reason why we look from the moon. And it always works. Remember this, the moon is how you feel about things, so it's going to be hugely reflective of what's going on in your life. So before I proceed, I want to remind everyone to check out my Patreon page if you want to get into the know and ask me questions personally, talk to me through emails, and most of all, get predictions for each day of the month in terms of what's the best day to do things. There's so many things that are offered on my Patreon page. Just check it out. Go to galacticcenter.org and click on my Patreon page. Now you can also go directly. There's a link down below. And furthermore, we just started the University of Vedic Astrology. There's still time to come on board. Check that out. I have a whole course to teach you Vedic astrology. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com. And don't forget, sign up for my free newsletter to get all of my predictions free every week. Now, let's continue on. I'm putting up these two charts. And what we see, first of all, is that if you look at Travis's chart, well, his moon, as I said, let's focus in on his moon. It sits somewhere midday in Scorpio. So the entire day, his moon is in Scorpio. So we can bank on this. His moon is in Scorpio. And what an intense guy he has to be. Scorpio is the most intense and passionate sign of the zodiac. And Taylor Swift has her sun in Scorpio. And in my opinion, whenever I look at charts, when I do comparisons for relationship readings for my clients, the most important thing that people have to have in their chart to really, really connect is the sun and the moon. And what's interesting is, I'll just share this with you, my husband and I have the sun and he has the moon conjunct my sun. So this is, and we've been married for many, many years. We met in high school. So to give you an idea, it works. But this is so important because here's another thing that I see. When the woman is the sun and the man is the moon, guess who is going to be dominant and lead the relationship? Yes. Sorry, Travis. I know you're a big football star, really, really strong and masculine. But Taylor's going to lead in this relationship. Why? Because it's her sun. The sun is the masculine force. The moon is the feminine reflective force. And it's his moon on her son. So she is the leader and makes the major decisions in this relationship. And actually, probably in most cases, it's better if the woman is the moon and the man is the sun. But in today's world, I think it works out just fine. So this is the strongest attraction in a chart, to have one person's sun sit on the other person's moon. So important. So the next thing that is so important in relationships is Venus and Mars. Venus is the planet of relationships. It actually rules Libra, which is the 7th sign, therefore relative to the 7th house, which is the house of marriage. So Venus is relationships. Plus, they say in Vedic astrology that Venus is the wife in a man's chart. So that's how important Venus is in relationships, especially to a man. Now, for a woman, you could pretty much think in terms of Mars being the man in a chart. And in some naughty astrology, they do claim this. But in traditional Vedic astrology, they say for a woman's chart, Jupiter is the husband. But Mars all by itself is the planet of passion. And so when you put Venus and Mars together, you have passion and love. And you have attraction. And one of the most important tie-ups in a relationship in terms of being physically, sexually attracted to another person, you know, when they talk about charisma, it's when Venus and Mars come together in two people's charts. And looking at Taylor Swift and Travis's chart, my goodness, look at where Taylor's Mars is at 2 degrees of Scorpio, and boy, she's a passionate one with Mars being in Scorpio. But Travis's Venus sits in Scorpio. And notice the degrees. This couldn't be more uncanny. His Venus sits at 2 degrees Scorpio, and her Mars sits at 2 degrees of Scorpio. They're exactly conjunct. This is always a physical attraction. So you have no doubt. If you're wondering if this is just a ploy for celebrities to come together in Hollywood so that they create a big, I don't know, uproar. You know, a lot of times you wonder, was this planned or is this real? Well, whether it's planned or real, those two planets represent, they are strongly attracted to each other. So there's no doubt in my mind with that. So the combination is amazing here, that her sun is his moon and her Mars is his Venus. Those are the two most important attractors. So this is the real deal. They are really strongly attracted to each other. Now, just looking at Taylor Swift's chart is pretty interesting because she has Venus conjunct Rahu in the 3rd house. The 3rd house is the house of performers and entertainers and talent. And it's no surprise that she not only has Venus there, but Rahu, which magnifies it all the more. And it's in the sign of Capricorn, which makes it very industrialist. So she's a businesswoman. On top of all of the creative ability, she knows business and she knows how to run things. And I have to say, with her success, this is so true. So looking also at going back over to Travis's chart, he's got Mars conjunct the Sun and even Mercury all in the sign of Virgo. Now, if you're looking at the moon as the 1st house, that's what I do when I don't have a birth time. These 3 planets sit in his 11th house of great gains And this is a powerful position. But not only that, anyone that has Mars conjunct the Sun will be extremely strong physically and athletic. Now, there could be some issues around anger at times because Mars and Sun together can make someone fly off with their feelings, emotions, and especially with his moon being in Scorpio. He's very passionate. But I will say these planets in Virgo make him very disciplined, focused, and into health. You have to be healthy in order to go as far as he has in football. And of course, discipline. Virgo is one of the most scrutinizing disciplinarians of all. They're very detailed oriented, very, very, very strong. Now, Taylor and Travis were born a few months apart, same year. So they have a lot of the same astrological signatures or conjunctions and oppositions. Both have Jupiter in Gemini, and both have Saturn in Sagittarius, opposing one another. But looking at Taylor's chart, she has the moon and Jupiter in the 8th house. That's a deep, dark house. And yes, I think she's saying a lot about some of her going down the dark night of the soul through relationships. Well, trust me, with 8th house energy you have. But 8th house energy is very, very interesting because it can deal with metaphysical sciences, research, analysis, but most of all, it deals with charisma. Charisma in her case, she is not lacking at all. And even if you were to look at her moon as the ascendant, as we did with Travis's, which would mean Gemini, and you count from where the moon is, Venus, Rahu go to the 8th house from the moon. So the Jupiter moon in the 8th house and the Venus Rahu 8th from the moon represents her magnetism and extreme charisma. Let's face it, somebody that may be talented in many ways but doesn't have charisma won't make it as big as Taylor Swift. This is the power of the 8th house. It is magnetism, sex appeal, charisma. And this is what I think has put her on the top, most definitely. Now, of course, both Taylor and Travis are going to have Jupiter and Saturn in the same positions, which make them very good with money. Because if you look from the ascendant and from his moon, Saturn goes to the 2nd house, but Jupiter goes to the 8th house for both. If you're looking at Scorpio as both the ascendant because of his moon and her ascendant, and this represents great, massive wealth because that's another variable that the 8th house deals with. And so together, you know, they have made their own wealth and they can work together. Now, I think it might be interesting to look at, I was trying to look at some of the things that happened when they first met, which they met in July of 2023. And particularly Jupiter and Rahu were in Aries during this time, and they were aspecting both Taylor's Saturn and Travis's Saturn. And what's interesting is if you look from Taylor Swift's chart, from the moon, Saturn goes to the 7th house, going directly across the moon. So that's a time of relationships and meeting. Now, we don't know Travis's ascendant per se, but here is the most important thing that I want to point out. Remember how they both have that Venus-Mars at 2 degrees of Scorpio? Well, when Jupiter transits into Taurus, which will be May 1st of 2024, it's going to go into the 7th house from Travis's moon. 7th house is the marriage house, as well as with Taylor's ascendant being Scorpio, transiting Jupiter goes into her 7th house. The 7th house is the house of marriage. So, as Jupiter in May will oppose Taylor's Mars and Travis's Venus, there will be at this time either a serious engagement or even marriage. You will see that when Jupiter shifts signs, this is going to bring them all the more closer together. Maybe they'll have some time to be together because heaven knows with their schedules. I don't know how they come together at all. But you can see this in their charts. They are strongly attracted, and with the science of astrology, you can see where the planets are headed. And during the month of May, they are going to become a lot closer. And of course, all of this will be in the news. So stay tuned and keep watching because you will see. And of course, the world loves to live vicariously through celebrities and their love life. So everyone's going to be interested and everyone's going to note as they make their plans to be together. We will see. So with that, those were the main features I wanted to bring out. I thought you might find this very interesting to look at the charts of two celebrities that are in a serious relationship, and astrologically what brought them together, and most of all, what should keep them together. So with that, I think I'll close. Remember, if you would like to learn more about me, get a reading, or you would like to get my free newsletter, go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. Thank you.